Blake, obviously we've heard that Nesta Silvera and Bubba Bolden will be back for the defense. Just what do you envision from them and the role that they can play and the boost that they can provide?
Well, I think for sure from a depth standpoint, they're going to provide a huge boost for us, but also just a spark. I mean, their energy, they both had 2 really good weeks of practices. I think their role is going to be determined kind of through the flow of the game. So I can't give you a snap count on either one of them, but both of them have played really, really well the last 2 weeks in practice, and both of them have a good energy about them. So I expect to see both of them on the field on Saturday.
Just with those two, is there anything like skill set wise that maybe they bring to you guys that you don't already have just
Just
coming
physically,
in?
you
Just
mean?
in terms of like what they do that maybe a different dimension they add.
Yeah, I think Bubba adds a lot of range. He has phenomenal ball skills, but he's a long guy that can run. He can cover a lot of ground. I think he's physical in the run game as well. And then I think Nesta's a load inside now. He's a spark for us. I think he brings a ton of energy, besides the physical aspect of it. But he's a physically gifted young man, and both those guys are going to add a lot of value to this defense moving forward.
Hey, Blake. Obviously, you guys have been so good against the run, and I know you're still producing a bunch of tackles for losses and sacks, but it seems like the one area where you guys kind of been a little wishy-washy is just been third down, and particularly when guys are getting open. What are you seeing in particular on those plays that's bothering you, and is that the one area that, as a coordinator, bothers you the most so far about maybe the way you've played?
Yeah, I think we played well on third down until last week, and a lot of that's on me. I don't think we necessarily had a great game plan going into it, and I thought, credit Central Michigan. I thought they did a better job coaching than I did. And so it starts with me. I think looking at it and really having a bye week and looking at the entire season, I think we identified multiple things that we can do better especially as a play caller. So, I expect to see some different things on Saturday in our third down package, but it's definitely one of the more disappointing things from the Central Michigan game for sure.
Blake, talk a little bit about Virginia Tech. I know they've been kind of up and down, but I'm sure you obviously went back and watched their Boston College game. They had some success throwing the ball, and what kind of challenges their quarterback presents, and in relation to maybe some of the troubles in spots that you've had, covering the passing game.
I think, I think first off, they have a good scheme. When you talk about just their overall scheme with motions, with different, window dressing, as I like to call it, kind of eye candy, they can do a good job confusing you from that standpoint. I think their quarterback's an accurate guy, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's a veteran guy. But, the biggest thing to me is, and I'll say it every week, but it's about us and us identifying what they're doing a good job coaching it throughout the week, and then going out and executing it on Saturday. But schematically, they provide a lot of issues for you on the defensive side of the ball.
Coach told us last week, I guess, the change in plans with Zach, and trying to redshirt him and bring him back next season. I want to get your thoughts on that. And then also, when you try to do something like that, it's because you got some other guys that can play. I wanted to ask you about Brooks and Joyner coming back from injury, I guess. Where could they fill in case something happens to Pink or to Shaq?
To answer the first part of your question, I think with Zach, he really came to us. Last time I stood up here and y'all asked me, it was the truth. And it was funny. It was literally like the next day he gave me a call that night, and we kind of talked through it. And the thing I told him is I wanted it to be his idea. I don't want him and we gave him the pros and cons. And I think for him personally, it's really a great opportunity if we're able to maintain his red shirt. Anytime that we can benefit a young man in his future, and I think Zach McCloud can play on Sundays. It was just a matter of Shaq and Pickney playing so well, and then, like you said, some of the younger guys are stepping up. So hopefully we'll be able to maintain his red shirt. But Sam Brooks is doing some really good things, especially as a freshman. Pat Joyner's just coming back off his injury. Darian Stevenson's done some nice things in practice as well. So we have to continue to develop those guys. But from Zach McCloud's standpoint, I think it's going to be a huge benefit for him and for us, moving forward into next season from a big picture point of view.
Blake, Greg Rousseau played his most snaps of the season against Central Michigan. Do you feel like moving forward he's earned maybe even more snaps, or is that kind of the right?
Yeah,
right amount?
absolutely. I think he keeps producing. He's going to continue to play, and I feel like a broken record because his name comes up every week. But he's continuing to get more comfortable with what we're asking him to do. He continues to produce when he's out there, so he's going to continue to play. Competition makes everybody better. I say that all the time, and I think he's really pushing Scott Patchen. I think he's pushing Neo, and I think Trayvon Hill is getting a lot better and getting more comfortable in our scheme. And we wanted those things to obviously happen instantly, but unfortunately we're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids, and all we can do is ask for them to get better and better every week, and those two guys for sure have done that. So you'll see more of a dose of Greg Rousseau.
You mentioned Trayvon. Obviously, he gets a chance against his old team this weekend. First of all, have you tried to do anything to keep his energy where it needs to be, and just does he help you guys at all with the game plan, having that kind of insight into?
I think from a personnel standpoint, he's maybe told us about certain guys, maybe what he thinks their strengths or their weaknesses are at. He was there for 3 years, so he'd know those guys from a day in, day out basis. From an energy standpoint, I keep telling him, we don't kick off till 3:30. Stay level-headed, and peak at the right time. We can't win the game today, So he's done a really good job with it. He has. He's been really level-headed. He's had a great week of practice, like I said, and he's continued to get better in our scheme every single week. So I expect a big game from him on Saturday.
Blake, how are Corey Couch and Christian Williams coming along? It's a little thin at cornerback. Do you think they're any closer to becoming maybe not a regular part of the rotation, but just someone that you could really rely on in this defense?
Yeah, I do. I think Corey was counted on early. Going all the way back to the Florida game, and then obviously we got DJ back, which has kind of put him, as the next guy up. But he's continuing to do a good job, and Christian's probably shown more improvement than any of the freshmen when you talk about a competitive edge. And watching him, right now he's starting on our punt block team, and he goes out there and plays press man on their gunner, and he's doing a great job. Which, as a defensive coach, that gives you more and more confidence to put him out there in the game. Still need to work on both of them. Understanding the fine points of our defense from a leverage standpoint, from some of the adjustments that we make throughout the game, and that'll continue to come. But both of those guys are building confidence with the defensive staff from a week-in, week-out basis.
Hey, Blake, I know you weren't here last year, but they obviously, looking at some of the numbers, comparing last year's numbers to this year's, they were playing more zone with this defense. I think 41% or something like that. Now you guys are playing 59% man. I guess what dictates that in terms of your game planning? Is it what the other team is doing, or is it specifically maybe what the strengths of some of these DBs are, obviously with so much turnover and different guys playing for this defense?
It's probably a combination of both. I think with as much RPO game out there, in college football, that's a common answer from a defensive coordinator standpoint. Obviously, you have to have the guys that can do that, and I believe we do. And then also just maybe from a personnel standpoint, who we have. I think all our guys can do a good job playing press man. So it's probably a combination of the two.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.